Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the FCS Prep Podcast, where I am your host, Dr. Keith Fairclough, and we are back again. We're still going over the 17 different emotions and what they mean and how you can handle them, right? And with these 17 emotions, honestly, that will pretty much cover you for like the whole emotional spectrum. I really don't think that I've missed anything out of these 17. There might be some variations, across the board, whatnot. But like, I think for what we're trying to do, what we're looking at, and just in our regular everyday life, what you're gonna get here is gonna cover everything you need in order to manage any emotion that might come your way. All right. So before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this with anybody you know who could use some help managing their emotions, understanding their emotions, being able to label them, know what they mean, and be able to process through them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Today, guys, we are talking about the emotions of frustration and disappointment. Oh yes, because there are so many things in our life that cause frustration, and disappointment is a natural part of life. If you are alive, you will be disappointed. All right, so we're going to jump into frustration first. Now, let me also say this, because I think a lot of times frustration is used synonymously with anger, and that's just not the case. Frustration and anger are not the same thing. We already went over anger in the previous video. Frustration, let me tell you what frustration is. Frustration is when we're doing something and it's not working like it's supposed to. Right? It's not operating the way that we know it's supposed to operate. Right? So we become frustrated. I'll give you a little example. Matter of fact, this just happened today. So I come home and I open my garage door. My alarm starts going off saying that, oh, you need to go ahead and clear this before the alarm goes off, right? And so I open up my phone. I'm like, no problem, because all I got to do is get my phone out and press a button, and then that shuts it down. Now, how about when I open up my phone and I click the link to go and shut it down, guess what happens? Internet's not working, Wi-Fi's not working, cellular data's not working, just get a blank screen as it's counting down. And I'm like, okay, let me refresh, let me turn off the Wi-Fi, let me try this, and it's just dragging its feet. Then guess what happens? The alarm goes off. So then guess what happens next? I become frustrated. Why did I become frustrated? I became frustrated because it's supposed to be simple. And then what happens, and this is how frustration can lead to anger, because instead of me just hopping out the car real quick, running into the house and turn off the alarm, guess what I do? I keep refreshing the page, toggle on the internet, refresh. So now I keep doing the same thing over and over again, because in my mind, there is a rule that all I gotta do is just open the link and press the button. Why isn't it working? It needs to work. And so that frustration builds to anger, and that's how there's a connection there, all right? But it doesn't have to get there. How do we fix this, right? All right, because guess what? We can still succeed. We just gotta change our approach. First, the symptoms. It's gonna be restlessness. You're gonna kind of be like on edge. You might be kind of short, right? But why? Because it's whatever it is you're trying to do, it's not working the way you know in your mind, the rules you have established in your mind and in yourself, it's not working like it's supposed to. How do we correct this? How do we fix the emotion of frustration? The first thing we got to do is take a break from whatever it is you're doing. Take a step back. When I mean a break, I'm not talking about go for like a 30-minute break. I'm talking about just take a step back from whatever you're doing. I should have took a step back from whatever I was doing. I've had my phone for long enough. I've used phones and internet and Wi-Fi for long enough. I've used my security service for long enough. I know how long that lasts. And I know sometimes the phone just doesn't work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's life. If I would have took a step back and been like, oh man, it's acting up again, and just got my keys out and went inside, no frustration. So that's what I mean, take a step back, right? Take a step back, reset your emotional thermostat so that you don't get to the point where you're angry or you start raging or you start pressing buttons really hard or banging stuff around. Like, just take a step back, take a deep breath. The next thing, seek help. If the situation you're running into, seek help. and seek help from someone who could possibly give you a different perspective on your situation. Someone who can have you look at it a different way, because sometimes what you thought was supposed to go a certain way, for whatever reason, didn't go a certain way. And maybe if you just saw it from a different perspective, maybe you wouldn't get so frustrated. Maybe you would understand things differently. Like, you ever been in a long line and it's like, oh my gosh, this is frustrating. I'm supposed to get through the drive-through and get my food and go home, and now I'm sitting here for 20, 30 minutes, and now, like, what's going on? Because in our mind, the rule is, if I'm in a drive-through, then I should be able to drive through. I should be able to get my stuff quickly. This is fast food. That's the rule that's been established in our mind. However, if someone were able to give you a different perspective and say, oh my gosh, you have no idea what they're going through on the inside of that building, right? On the inside of that restaurant. You have no idea. 5 people called out. They got 2 people in the kitchen and 1 person managing the register, and one manager. Man, that must be a lot. Because then you start getting a little bit more empathetic. Like, dang, man, yeah, it is a lot. Boy, that sucks. And it shifts the perspective. So now there's no more frustration, because now your mind has shifted to understand the situation from a different point of view. Now you're shifting away from your rule, because your rule has a caveat. Our rules sometimes have caveats, like, yeah, this is the way it's supposed to work, but I understand if it doesn't work that way in these different situations. Like in this case, in the example I just gave, the situation of there not being a lot of people in there to do the job, and it being really stressful, and they're trying their best, right? So find someone who can help you give you a different perspective on the situation, right? The next thing, depending on what you're doing, try different approaches, right? For me, again, I go back to the example. Pressing the button over and over and over again is not a different approach. Okay, I can press the button, doesn't work. I can toggle that thing off, it doesn't work. Okay, nibbles 2 didn't work. I'm running out of time. Let me just hop out this car, open the door up, and just turn it off real quick. Try different approaches. And as you try different approaches, the next step is to log your efforts. Right? Obviously, some things you don't actually have to write down and log, but sometimes if you're trying to do something, you're trying to come up from a lot of different ways, a lot of different angles, it might be a good idea to log your efforts. What is working, what is not working, and then compound the things that are working as you get closer and closer to the solution. Right? So these are great ways for you to correct the emotion of frustration. And I'm going to say not even correct, but to really answer the call of frustration. Because again, the whole mode is not for you to sit there. The mind's not sending you the message for you to sit there and continue to be frustrated and morph that into anger. That's not what your mind's trying to do. Your mind is giving you a message that it's not working. We need to do something different. What are we going to do different? So you might have noticed on the channel that I have removed most or close to all of those videos that have to do with relaxation, the music and stuff like that. I removed pretty much all of them. The only ones I left up were some affirmation videos. I'm going to leave those there. I'm not really going to add to them though. And I also left the coping skill one with the breathing, the meditation, in the progressive muscle relaxation. So I left those up there, right? So I'm actually going to have, or actually not going to, I actually already have shifted all those videos. It was a lot of work. I shifted all those videos to my new channel, which is FCS, Relaxation and Inspiration, right? I thought it would be better to put all those in one separate channel so that you don't get it mixed up. You can listen to one and all of a sudden, bam, I come on, greetings everybody, So when you get a chance, if you're studying, if you're trying to relax, you're trying to go to sleep, you're trying to meditate, or you're using some nice quiet sounds or good sounds to help you just be in a good calm space, put those alpha waves to work, then head over to that channel. Remember, it's FCS, Relaxation and Inspiration, okay? Now, with that being said, on to the next emotion of disappointment. So what is the message that disappointment is giving us? When we become disappointed, what's the message we're getting? The message we're getting from our brain is that there was something that we wanted, something that we expected, something that we thought was supposed to happen, and it didn't happen. That is the message we're getting from disappointment. That's what our brain is telling us when we become disappointed. And so what does that look like? What might that feel like? Some of the symptoms, you might be slumped. You might have like a lower mood, may not be as happy. There could be sighing. There could be decreased energy, decreased creativity, especially depending on how focused you were and how set your mind was on getting that thing, right? So with all that being said, what do we do with that, right? How do we answer that message? How do we answer the message of, man, what we really wanted is not going to come to pass, or we can't get it, or it's not going to happen. What do? What we got to do is we have to let go of the thing we wanted, and we have to shift our focus to something else that we do want, right? We can't stay there, right? We can't stay there mourning what we can't have anymore. We have to move on to something else. We got to shift our focus, right? Shift our focus to what we can have and what we can receive, okay? And what we can achieve. We need to shift our focus to that thing. Very, very important. And I know some people are like, well, Keith, but what about, the validation of the emotion or whatnot? Yes, there should be validation of the emotion. Absolutely should be validation of the emotion, right? Especially if you're around somebody else and you're sharing your disappointment. 100% of you, there should be validation of that emotion. However, I'll give you another example. When I came home from Baltimore, I was like, oh man, I want that Oreo ice cream that I have in the fridge. My mind was set on that when I was on the plane. I'm like, well, I'm gonna get home and get that ice cream. It's gonna be so good. Oh man, I can't wait. I mean, my mind was tuned up. I was thinking about it on the plane, after I got off the plane, after my luggage got broken, I was in the Uber car. I was like, oh man, I can't wait. Got home. I was like, woo wee. I cannot wait to get my ice cream. I put my stuff down. I was sweaty and I stunk. It was bad. I was just bad, right? But my mind was all set on that ice cream. Like, woo, it's gonna be so good, full container, all the way to the top. I'm gonna get a big old spoon, and I'm gonna be in there like swimwear. It's gonna be phenomenal. So imagine all the buildup, right? All that buildup. It's like, oh man, woo, ice cream. Guess what happens when I open the fridge? No ice cream. Okay. Well, let me take the deep freezer. Maybe I put it in there. No ice cream. Maybe it's covered up by something. Go back to the fridge. No ice cream. So disappointed. So disappointed. I was like, oh, man, no ice cream. My mouth was tuned up for it and everything. All this slumped shoulders, lower energy now. I was just like, oh man. Really thought then my mind went to start trying to accuse my son, like maybe he ate it. Maybe he ate my ice cream while you were gone. But I was like, nah, we're not doing that, man. Every time you do that, you always make a mistake and look like a fool. So all I could do in that moment was to shift my focus to something else. And so what I did was, in that moment specifically, I shifted my focus like, okay, well, there's no ice cream, but I could still go upstairs and get a nice bath in my big shower. I shifted my focus to what I could have, something else that was nice. It's really important to do that. And I'm telling you, it really helps. The next best thing, go ahead and get that. Shift your focus to that and get that thing. Also, again, kind of tying back, I guess I jumped the gun a little bit, but finding someone you could process this with, finding someone you can talk to about it, right? If it really bothers you that much. I mean, obviously, I brought up ice cream, but maybe there's a job you really wanted. Maybe it was a relationship you really were going for. Maybe it was a car you wanted to buy. Maybe it was a move you wanted to make. Maybe it was something bigger than ice cream, right? You might need someone to talk to and process that with. You might need to sit down and kind of just talk about, what it meant to you and how you're feeling, because it might actually be mixed in. There might be some sadness mixed in there as well. So now you got two emotions going on. So find someone you can talk to that can help you process through this and maybe also give you another perspective on your situation, right? So another perspective I got, not that I process this with anybody, but another perspective I got was like, but you know what? You don't really need all those calories anyways. And you've been doing so good the last few weeks. So, it's okay. And so that actually helped kind of take the edge off a little bit and also helped to shift my focus as well, right? And so the last thing you could do, is actually two things. One, place expectations on yourself. And so now I delineate between expectations and hope, right? Expectations are things that are supposed to come to pass. Hope is things that may or may not come to pass. And as I've noticed in life, the only things that we can really place expectations on are really ourselves and things we have direct control over. Anything else outside of that is nothing but hope. Even with how other people are going to treat us. We could have boundaries and share those boundaries and talk to them. That's no guarantee that person's going to listen. It's no guarantee the person's going to change. And so we can place expectations on ourselves and hope in others and on situations. And when we do this, yes, disappointment's still going to come. So it's not going to be like, well, since I'm only placing expectations on myself and hoping others, that'll never be disappointment. There may still be disappointment, but it's not going to hit as hard and it's not going to be as heavy if you understand and realize that, okay, well, I didn't really have control of that situation anyways, right? It was a hope. I really wanted it to work out, but unfortunately it didn't, right? But when it's expectation, it's like, okay, I can take and control my food intake. I can take and control my mindset, how I communicate, what I learn, what I watch, what I do, how I work out. I can control those things. So by doing that, you're going to have far less disappointment, because a lot of times in life, we swap them, right? We place expectations on others and things and hope in ourselves. And all that serves to do is amplify disappointment tenfold, because we're placing expectations on things we can't control and we're placing hope on things we can. So then we're not even getting what we can get because we're leaving it all up to hope. That is how we answer the message of disappointment in our mind, right? That's the message. That's how we answer it. The mind says, something we wanted is not coming to pass. And that's how you answer. You shift your focus. You get a different perspective. Process it with someone. Place hope in others and situations, and place expectations on yourself. And this is how you're going to navigate the emotion of disappointment. So guys, that's it. That's all I got for you today. 2 more emotions in the books. I think next time we're definitely going to be talking about guilt, because that is a big one. All right, that is a big one. I think that one traps a lot of people. So we're definitely going to be talking about guilt. I might even dedicate the whole video to it, but we'll see. All right, but if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out. Let me know. All my contact information is down below, and I'm nothing but a Google search away. All right. So I love you guys. You all take care. Have a great, awesome, and blessed day. And I'll see y'all in the next video.